Hey y'all, Tailored by Debbie here. We're doing a different angle today on my YouTube video. I'm going to show you how to make a padded iPad or tablet case. This was at the request of one of my subscribers who asked me if I could show y'all how to make this. So we're going to do it today. Okay, you're going to need a zipper, and I'm using Zipper by the Yard. I will put a link in the description box below for the items I ordered from Amazon, and this is one of the things. And it comes with the zipper pulls and the zipper clips that go on each end, and I'll show y'all how to use those as we get to that part. I'm going to go ahead and lay my iPad over here to the side. Now, you're going to need a dryer mat, and this came from the Dollar Tree, and 3 placemats, and I got all 3 of these. They're the same from the Dollar Tree. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is fold our dryer mat, dish drying mat, in half, and I'm going to put a couple of clips on the end over here just to match up the edges. And then we're going to come over here to the other side, kind of fold it out flat, and we're going to cut along this edge. Just like so. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of the drying mat, and that's what's going to be our padding inside of our bag. All right, next we're going to take 2, we're going to set one of these to the side. We're going to take 2 of our placemats, and one at a time, we're going to lay down a placemat on here. I'm just going to move it over to where this is centered on either side. So we have about 1 1/4 inches on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and come up and leave 1 1/4 inches on the bottom as well. We're just going to leave equal material around the edges of this. I'm going to pin it down. Just pin it down like this. All right, and then we're going to come on this edge right here, and we're going to measure 1 1/4 inches, and I'm going to cut, just going to eyeball it. I'm going to cut straight across about 1 1/4 inches. Okay. Just like that. So what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to just tear these tags off. They just rip off. And we're going to place this piece down that we just cut off the end of that one. Just lay it down, and I'm going to use it as a guide to cut straight across this one. Okay, those are just extra pieces we're going to put to the side. And actually what we're going to do, we're going to take this and stick it down in the end. Okay. And if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of see if it's centered, and then we're just going to kind of pin it in a couple places, because that way we can have the inside of the bag be blue and the outside of the bag be this pretty print. So that's what we're going to do. Sometimes we have a revelation in the middle of a project, and that's what just happened. I thought, hey, that is open now, so why not stick that down inside? Just like so. Okay, and hold it up to the light. Kind of get it centered the best you can. And then we're going to pin it down. Pin it down on there. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to come over to the machine. Take these pins and put them back in the container over here. We're going to take our sewing machine, and we're going to sew some lines across this, okay, because we want to keep the dish mat from moving inside of our bag. So I'm just going to come over and find the end of it, where that kind of the edge of it is, and we're going to start sewing our line from the edge. Let's go ahead and pull some thread through. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this presser foot metal plate that's on my sewing machine kind of as a guide. Okay, and we're going to put the presser foot down, and I'm going to start with a couple stitches forward, and we're going to back stitch, and then we're just going to stitch straight across. And I'm catching the very bottom edge of the dish mat. Okay, just going to sew straight across. Okay, and then I'm over here on the edge of the fabric. I'm going to take it and turn to the side. And I'm going to sew up about 10 stitches. Okay, going 11 actually. Then we're going to turn it. And we just sewed on the very edge of the fabric so we don't have to cut the thread every time we turn. All right, and now that that's sewn in there, I'm going to go ahead and take these pins out, and we're going to kind of fold over this, and we're just going to sew straight across. Okay, we don't have to back stitch because we haven't cut the thread. I'm not pushing the material through, I'm just using my hands to guide it, and I'm kind of looking over here on this side to keep this the same distance from the edge to make my stitches straight. And just go all the way to the edge. Okay, once you kind of get to where the stitching is on the edge, we're going to turn it and go up about 10 or 11 stitches, just like we did a little while ago. Put the presser foot down and go forward 10 stitches or so. Okay, make sure the needle's in the fabric. Take your presser foot out, turn, put the presser foot down, and then you're going to kind of look on this side, keeping your presser foot about the same distance from the edge, and you're going to sew straight across. We're just adding some lines to kind of quilt that dish mat into our bag. And I say quilt loosely because it's just straight lines, y'all, okay? But it is, in a way, it's quilting. Just a very simple quilting. All right, then we're going to turn it, go about 10 stitches. Put your needle down into the fabric, turn, put the presser foot down, and again, you come over to this side to look, to keep your stitches straight, and go straight across. We're just going to repeat this till we get to the top of the dish dryer mat. And we're going to continue to sew those straight lines, and then sew about 10 stitches when you get to the edge, turning it each time, sewing the straight lines to quilt that dish mat into our bag until we get to the very top edge of our dish mat, and the last row that we will sew will be right along that top edge of the dish mat that is tucked inside the placemat. So now, as you can see, we've got that mat secured on both ends of our bag. And we're going to repeat the same thing. And look how pretty the quilting looks, y'all. Doesn't that look nice? And that's going to keep the dryer mat from shifting inside our bag. So now I'm going to complete those exact same steps on the other placemat with the dish mat tucked inside, and then I will be right back. All right, so now we have both panels quilted for our bag. And doesn't that look nice? So let's just cut off the extra threads. that we have anywhere. All right, now, to make this a finished edge, we're going to take and just fold in the fabric. On that raw edge, we're just going to fold in the fabric a little bit on each side and then sew straight across the bottom. That's all we're doing. So I'm going to start in the middle, just folding the edges down, and then we're going to put a clip. We're going to fold the edges in, just like so, and then we're going to put clips, and we're going to sew straight across the bottom, and we're going to have no raw edges on the inside of our bag, y'all. How cool is that for a Dollar Tree project? Nobody's ever going to know this was a Dollar Tree bag unless you tell them. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and clip. We've just folded the edges over and clipped them, and we're going to sew across the bottom edge, leaving a very small seam, just kind of like it is everywhere else on this placemat. Okay, just want to get the edges, the raw edges of the material secured inside. So that's all we're doing here. Back stitch a couple times, and then just sew straight down along the edge, removing the clips as you go. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get those raw edges secured inside. That's what we're doing. Getting the raw edges in there. This is going to be inside the bottom of the bag. So it's not going to matter, y'all. It's not going to matter. Now we have a finished edge all the way around our panel. So let's do the same thing to this one. And here I've just sped up the video because I'm repeating that exact same process on this edge of the second placemat to get those raw edges tucked in and sewn inside. Okay, so now we have no raw edges anywhere along our placemat. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we want to come along the factory edge side, and we want to take our zipper. Okay, but before we sew this on, we need to attach our zipper pull. All right, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I have figured out on how to get the zipper pulls on these zippers easier. And I just took this box of paints because it's heavy, and I can wedge a fork kind of in front of one of these bottles, and it'll hold that fork straight up for me. Then I'm going to take my zipper pull, and on the front of the zipper pull is this part. We want to stick the fork down in between this part on the front of the zipper where the zipper pull is attached. We want to stick the fork over that part with this thing facing away from us. Okay, so you're not putting it down in between the tines of the zipper. And you want to have the flat part of the zipper pull on the back side. You want to have that part down. Okay, so you're just taking the fork and sliding it over that zipper pull part down a little bit, like that, okay? And that's going to hold the zipper pull for you then to take your zipper. You want to cut it across, straight across. Then you want to take a lighter and you just want to singe the edge of your zipper so it will not unfray while you're doing the next step. Okay, we're going to pull the teeth of the zipper apart. Now, this is a nylon zipper. It's not metal. If it's metal, you cannot cut across it with scissors, okay? So I just took scissors, cut across it, and then I just singed it with a lighter. Now, you want the teeth of the zipper to be away from you, okay? And then you're just going to take each edge of the zipper and put it down in each side at slightly a little bit of an angle, and then you're just going to pull You have to get it in there just right, and you'll feel when it's in there just right, and then you just pull the zipper down, y'all. Game changer. Okay, so our zipper pull is now on our zipper. The next thing we need to do, I have a small piece of wood. Where did I put it? Right here. Just one of those wood planks from the Dollar Tree. And then you're going to take the two little clips that are the zipper stops that come with the zipper by the yard. You're going to turn the zipper over, and you want to take on each end, you want to place it over the zipper on each end. You're going to take it and lay it across your zipper, just like that. And then you're going to take a hammer and hammer it right down into the board, okay? Then you can just pull this up, because this wood is really soft, and it'll just pull right out. And you'll see those pointy things have gone through to the back of the zipper. Now what you want to do is take a pair of pliers of some sort, and I'm just using these. And you want to take those metal pieces that are pointy and bend them, kind of lay them down on the wood, and then just take the pliers and bend them toward the center, one at a time. Bend them toward the center of the zipper. Okay, they bend really easily. Just grip it and then bend it. Grip it, bend it. Okay. Take a hold of it, grip it, bend it. Grip it and bend it toward the center. Once they're all bent facing down toward the center of the zipper, you can take your hammer and hammer them down like so. Now I'm just going to complete that same process on the other end of the zipper. We're going to add the zipper stop. Now this zipper, you can zip and unzip to each end of the zipper, and the zipper pull will not come off the end of your zipper. Now we're going to take our bag, and you want to lay it out flat in front of you, like so. Let's put our hammer up because we're done with it. All right. We want the factory sewn edges both coming together in the center with the blue part up. Okay, then you're going to lay your zipper down like this. We're going to open the zipper. You're going to lay the zipper down with the teeth going toward the front or the pretty side of the bag. Okay, you have the back of the zipper showing from the back of the bag. Now we're just going to take this and kind of even your zipper up on either side. And we're just going to clip it to where the teeth are kind of lining up with the top of the bag. Okay. We've opened up the zipper, and we're just putting half of it to where it kind of lines up with the edge of the bag. That's all we're doing. We've kind of put it in the middle side to side, and now we're just lining up these teeth of the zipper with the edge or the top edge of our bag. Okay. Just like so. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine. We're going to start on the side opposite where our zipper pull is. Okay, we got the zipper pulled over to this side. We're going to start sewing on this side. Now, I don't have a zipper foot. I just have a regular presser foot on my sewing machine, and I don't have a zipper foot. So I'm just going to sew as close to the edge as I can. And then you're going to slide this up, and you want to get the edge of your presser foot as close to the zipper as you can. Okay, as close to the zipper. Put the presser foot down. Go ahead and put the needle in the material and sew forward a couple stitches. Then back stitch a couple of times. And then you're just going to sew straight across. Keeping the presser foot as close to the edge of the zipper as you can. If you have a zipper foot, you can probably get closer than I am. but I'm okay with this, y'all. It turns out just fine. You can go ahead and remove your clip or slide the clip down as you're sewing. And I'm going to remove that clip and keep on sewing. Take that clip off and keep on sewing. All right, when you get down here to this end, take the clip off. Make sure the needle's in the material. Lift up your presser foot, and we're going to slide the zipper pull. We're going to zip it. Okay, we're going to zip it right past where we're sewing, and then we're going to put that presser foot down and just sew right off the edge here. Okay, until we get to the edge, and then we're going to backstitch. Trying to keep that zipper lined up. Get to the edge and do a back stitch, and then we're done. We've got that side of our zipper already sewed on our bag, y'all. But now you see we've got the zipper on half of our bag already, and look how well the zipper works. Okay, so now you're going to lay it flat on the table again. We're going to unzip the zipper, and now we want to clip the other side to the top of the other panel of our bag, okay? And you just want to match up your edges of the placemat. Okay, match up those edges so it's going to be nice and even. And then put a clip. And then just clip across in 2 or 3 places. And again, we're going to start sewing opposite of where our zipper is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zip it up just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and clip it here on the end. Just clip it right here, kind of on that end, because it's easier for me to turn it this way and sew with the edge that I'm sewing up against this side of the presser foot. Okay, so I'm just going to lay it in here and try to line that up the best I can. Get it in here. I've got my zipper slightly closed, so it's not in my way right now. And if you need to, right here, you can take a pin. Since we're so close to the edge, you can take a pin and kind of pin it right here to help hold that for you, since we can't really get a clip where we are. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple forward stitches and then back stitch a couple. Keep it from coming unsewn, and now we're going to sew our zipper. Again, keeping that presser foot up against the side of the zipper as much as I can. And then when we get to where our zipper is, we're going to make sure that our needle is down into our material. We're going to lift up our presser foot, and then we're going to come under here and get our zipper, and we're going to unzip it past where we're sewing. Okay, and then we can come in here and make sure that our zipper's lined up and go ahead and sew. Okay, and as you approach your clip, you're going to unclip and then just try to keep it lined up as you're sewing the best you can. Okay, one more clip here before we get to the end. We have one more clip here. Okay, so I'm going to unclip that one. And then I'm just going to sew straight off the edge here. Doing the back stitch so the thread won't come undone. Let's go ahead and trim our threads and check and see how we did on our zipper, y'all. Looks amazing. Zippers are not hard to do. Once you learn those few tricks I just showed you, zippers are not hard to do, guys. And look how beautiful that looks on the top of our bag. See, another thread I need to trim. All right, now we're going to turn our bag. I'm going to unzip the bag. And we're going to turn our bag right sides together, just like so. Okay, and I'm going to come down just under where the zipper is. Okay, we're going to clip. First, we're going to clip all the edges. I'm going to clip all the edges. Trying to keep the edges matched up as best we can on the sides and across the bottom. And I just sped up the video as I finished clipping it here. We're going to sew all the way around the edges of the bag. And when we get up around the top edge, we're going to stop sewing when we get to this top row of stitching. We won't sew all the way up to the zipper because it'll make it really hard to turn out the zipper and zip the zipper if we do. So we're going to come over here and we're going to start sewing where that line of stitching is, and we're just going to sew. And I have a really neat tool, y'all. It's this magnetic seam guide. You can put it down, and let's do a 3/8 inch seam. We'll do a 3/8 inch seam. It has a magnet on the bottom, and these plates on sewing machines are metal, so this will stick. All you do is you put your material in here and butt it up against that, and it's going to keep your seam allowance consistent without you having to worry about it, y'all. Okay, and I will put the link for the ones I ordered in the description box. They're not that expensive, and it makes it so much easier. All right, so I'm just going to start where that seam is. I'm going to go forward a couple stitches, then we're going to back stitch. And I'm going to do that a few times. Since this is a stress area of the bag, I'm going to back stitch 3 or 4 times to make that really secure. And then we're just going to sew butting up against this seam allowance magnet all the way down the bottom. And I've sped up the video here because all we're doing is sewing in a straight line down the first side of the bag. Then we turn it, we sew a straight line across the bottom of the bag, and then we turn it and we sew a straight line up that last edge of the bag. And then we back stitched to secure the end, and we trimmed off the threads. Okay, y'all, now we're going to box the corners. So what we do to do that, we're going to take where the corner is in the bottom of our bag, and we're going to pull it open like this, okay? And once we have it flattened out, and it's bulky, so it's going to be a little bit hard to do that. Once we kind of have it flattened out, we need to measure in how far up from this part. Okay, you want to start measuring from right there. And I'm going to measure in about 1.5 inches, okay? And I'm just going to eyeball where that is, and I'm going to sew straight across that area, making sure that these seams are flat, okay? And let's go ahead and move this over, lift up our presser foot, put it in here. You want to kind of line up so these seams are laying right on top of each other, okay? And then you just want to sew straight across, a line straight across right there. Okay, so I'm just going to lay it over, come in here, and approximately 1.5 inches in, I'm going to sew a line straight across, making sure those seams are flat. Go ahead and do a back stitch. And I'm going to do that a couple times and then sew straight across. Back stitch a couple times. Okay, just like that. Because this is finished, I'm not going to cut that off. We're just going to stick that in the bottom of the bag. We're going to do the same thing on the other corner, okay? We're going to take and pull it apart to where we have this opening up in the center, just like this, okay? And then we want to measure in from right here, from this point, we want to measure in 1.5 inches. And we're just going to sew a line straight across just like we did right there, okay? So I'm going to measure in 1.5 inches, put my thumbnail there, lay the bag in there, making sure the seams are open, just kind of eyeballing where that 1.5 inches is, and we're going to lay it in the sewing machine and sew it straight across. I'm going to measure one more time, put the needle in, stitch, back stitch a couple times, and then sew straight across, making sure those seams are open. And just sew straight across. And that's all there is to making a boxed corner. We've just boxed both corners. And because these are finished seams, we're not even going to cut that bulk of this corner off. Okay, we're going to turn our bag right side out now, and then we're going to sew on. We'll make some straps and sew them on. Okay, so the bag, we have the zipper open. You're just going to come in here and grab the corner and pull. Just pull it out. Okay, and then you can push the bag out. And you see where we made those boxed corners, how nice that looks? Okay. Now let's just kind of fit our iPad in here and make sure it's going to fit. Okay. So this is it without the case. And we can stand it beside and see it's going to be plenty big enough. And it's padded, it's protected. And we have a little bit of area on the top, so that if you wanted to take your iPad and put it in a case, like my case right here, let's go ahead and put our iPad, let's see, it goes this way. We're going to stick it in this case, and I'm going to show you that it'll still fit in this bag, even with the protective case on it. Okay, so now we have it in a case. Look how much room we have, y'all. It's going to fit in here. No problem. No problem at all. Okay. And then we're going to take this zipper, and because we left a little bit of room at the bottom, we can completely flip the zipper out. Okay. So what you want to do, you want to take the zipper pull. Let's take this out. You want to take that zipper pull and push it through that opening. And that's a little bit tight to do, but you can do it. Just work at it until you can get the zipper pull through that hole right there. And then you can just flip the zipper. See, if we had sewn that all the way to the top, you wouldn't have been able to flip the zipper up like that. Then, now, you see, you can take this end of the zipper and pull it out too. And what we need to do on this end is singe the end of that with our lighter. Let's trim. Okay, we flipped that end of that out too. So we're going to trim that off, all those little frayed edges, because we didn't singe one end of our zipper. We only singed the end where we attached our zipper on. So now we're going to take this side and we're going to singe the end of our zipper so that end looks finished. If it flips out, now you don't have to flip it out, you can just kind of tuck it, but I mean, it's fine if it does. Okay, it's fine if it does, because the ends of the zipper are now secure where they're not going to fray. Okay, so we're just, look how cool that is. Zip and unzip, put your bag in, zip it up. It's padded, it's protected somewhat. Okay, it's got some padding. So now what we're going to do, we are going to add some straps. Let's make and add some straps to our bag. I'm going to use one more of the placemats. I'm going to measure in. I'm going to measure in about 2.5 inches, and I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to cut down. Just eyeballing it, y'all, because that's how we roll at Tailored by Debbie. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We can kind of use this one as a guide. lay it down over here and just cut straight down. So all we're going to do similarly like we did to the bottom of the bag, where we take it and fold it in. Okay, we're just going to take it and fold it in like that. And then we're going to sew up this one edge is all we have to sew up, y'all, because the others sides of this are already got the top stitching on it. So this makes it super easy, okay? And these are our 2 straps. So how easy is that? Just take and fold it in, which gives you some nice straps, and it's already got interfacing on the blue part. They've already got interfacing in here, so it gives it a little bit of body, so the straps don't feel super flimsy. So we're just going to clip, fold in those edges, finger press it. Finger press it means just kind of press with your fingers. Get over here on this end, fold that under, and just keep going from that edge. Fold it under. Get that as neat looking as you can. It's not going to matter. Nobody's going to be looking at it that closely, y'all. Just fold those edges under and clip it. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one. Keeping about the same seam allowance that's on the edge of the placemat. Really close to the edge. Go ahead and back stitch on the ends like we've been doing. Okay, and then just sew from one end to the other, trying to keep those edges folded in. Make sure that presser foot is down. And then just sew it down that one edge. This strap. So you can see it's sewn all the way around, and that looks really nice. Now on the back of this, the other stitching is blue, so I'm going to go ahead and top stitch over that as well, so the stitching will be white all the way around the strap. Now we don't have to worry about the back part right here because that's going to be stitched to the bag, but we're gonna go ahead and top stitch over the blue stitching so that it'll be white stitching on both sides of the strap, just to make it look better, okay? That's going to look better. Now it looks like it's cohesive on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that with this one. Well, I'll speed up the video here because I'm just doing the same thing on that second strap, just like we did on the first one. Sewing along that first edge, then we flip it over and sew over the blue thread on the second side. Take the bag, and we're going to be attaching them to the front. Now, when you're attaching it, you want to measure in from the side. Okay, so we're going to kind of measure in from the side of the bag. And I'm going to measure in a couple of inches. And then I'm going to bring it to where it's coming down to that first line of stitching. So I'm just going to clip it on both sides right there. Okay, now when you're doing these straps, you want to make sure that the strap is not twisted. And you just want to bring it over like that, okay, to where it's not twisted. And then we're going to measure in a couple of inches from this side, and we're going to line it up with that bottom row of stitching. Okay, right here. And then we're just going to clip it on either side. And then we're going to measure one more time. Make sure we're about 2 inches in from that side. Yep, I need to go over a little more. It's always better to measure twice. Just like with construction, measure twice. So we're in about 2 inches, and we're in about 2 inches. So I think that's a little bit too close together. So I'm actually going to come over 1.5 inches, okay? Since these straps are a little bit wider, I'm going to measure in 1.5 inches from the edge and put them there. Yeah, I like that better. I do. I like that a lot better. Okay, so now we're just going to sew a little square around the strap. And it's going to be a little bit of a challenge since we've already sewn the bag together. I'm going to take off the front part of my machine, which makes it where I can get stuff around it easier, okay? And then I'm going to wrap the bag around it like this. And then I'm going to take my clip off that back side, and I'm going to slide it up in here and sew straight across. And I'm trying to kind of sew below where that zipper is. You don't want to sew too close to the zipper. It's going to make it too hard for you to open and close your zipper. So here we go. I did a little bit of double stitching just because that's, you know, going to be holding a lot of weight. And then I'm going to turn the bag this way, and you just kind of have to bunch the bag up, put the presser foot down, and sew across this part. Again, I'm back stitching and coming back down it. Then we're going to lift the presser foot up, and you just kind of have to turn the bag, bunch the bag up in here, and make sure you're not sewing over both sides of the bag. Put that presser foot down, and then sew across the bottom. And then I'm going to turn and sew back up to where we started. And I'm going to back stitch one time, all the way down, and then back up. Okay, and then lift that presser foot up. And one side of our strap is on there. And you can see it did not interfere. Let me cut these other threads and then I'll show you. It did not interfere with our zipper whatsoever, okay? Because we sewed right below where the zipper is. But that just looks really good, doesn't it? See how it looks? This is one way you can do the straps. Another way is to sew the strap in before you attach the zipper. But this is a little bit more beginner friendly for your first time. If this is your first time sewing a bag, it's easier to sew the straps on this way. So that's why I've chosen to do it this way for this bag. All right, we're going to sew the other one on this side, then we'll flip the bag over and do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to just sew the box around the second strap, then we'll flip the bag over and measure the straps against the ones on the first side, lay them down, clip them on, and sew on the second set of straps just like we did the first one. And that's all there is to this bag, y'all. Let's cut all the threads off and let's try out our bag. Y'all, look how cute this is. Look how amazing this turned out. It's got the boxed corners. Hang on, I got some thread on my hand here. It's got the boxed corners, so you want to make sure you push those boxed corners out. So your bag will actually stand up pretty much on its own. If you kind of balance out your straps, it'll stand up. Now let's get our iPad and look at this, y'all. It goes right down in there. Plenty of room for a notepad, a pen. You got plenty of room in this bag, y'all, for all the things. You've got a little strap. You could even wear it over your shoulder if you wanted to. And look how beautiful it came out. I sure hope you will give this a try. Please subscribe to my channel. Click the bell so you'll always be notified when I put up new content. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you would like to see me make next. I'll see you in the next video.